So I want to talk about the recent survey that I did so that it can be used to educate small business owners, especially those that are either newly opened and are looking to successfully launch, but also to build a sustainable business, especially in this time when so many are, failing right now, or simply trying to survive. So, let's discuss the most important findings of the survey. When small business owners and entrepreneurs were asked the question, what's your number one challenge right now when it comes to customer satisfaction? And the overwhelming response was how their operations had an impact on customer satisfaction. You know, what you do in your business, the logistics of the day to day, and the changes made, and the circumstance that you find yourself in can result in an impact on customer satisfaction. Now, depending on the type of business you're in, your operations could be transparent to your customer. For example, in the case of a product-based business, most people don't see what's on the inside. It's like a black box, right? To many of your customers, your operations are not important because they just care about the end product. They care about what they buy, and they care about what they physically get in their hand or what they see. All they really care about at the end of the day is, am I getting a good product, and are you meeting my expectations? Similarly, in a service-based business, you know, many of the parts of the operations are not, you know, they're not a part of the customer experience. The inner workings, again, are not relevant to the customer until it has a direct impact on them. But although it isn't visible, right, you still have to make sure that any mandatory or voluntary changes in your processes, that they do not result in a decline in customer satisfaction. Sometimes the product or the service that you provide is delivered to the customer through an experience, and the customers are actually involved in the process of delivery. So let's take a look at maybe the example of a restaurant, where the product is the food and it's delivered through an experience. So for example, let's say like in a sit-down restaurant, right? The operations behind getting that product to the customer is quite visible. They're sitting in the restaurant, the waiter's bringing the food out, etc., right? So not only is the product itself going to be judged by the customer, but also the delivery and the experience also impacts customer satisfaction. One of the things that people noted during COVID was that the changes that had to be made to minimize the spread of the virus, changes like in terms of the seating and the spacing, can you have outdoor dining or not, having to wear a mask, all of these things impact the customer experience, and they also ultimately impact customer satisfaction. Now, while the impact that your operations has on customer satisfaction was really one of the main drivers of what people are worried about now regarding customer satisfaction, um, it's not only during a pandemic or during COVID, any restrictions, any changes that impact your operations will ultimately impact customer satisfaction. Um, it may be what's going on in the environment. It could be a hurricane. It could be an earthquake. Um, you know, anything that changes the potentially the physical layout of your business, changes in regulations, changes in the requirements from governing bodies. These may all be outside of your control, but you can prepare yourself in the event that something like this happens. Through doing exercises, through contingency planning, you can go through hypothetical scenarios to figure out what you would do in case the worst happens. How do you keep your doors open? How do you keep operating? And once you figure that out and you become operational under those new conditions, then you can figure out how to ultimately ensure that customers are truly satisfied despite these changes to your operations.